There was a time when the smell of fresh cut would meant something special. Before smartphones, before streaming, before childhood became scheduled down to minute, fathers and sons gathered in garages across America with a simple block of pine resting on a workbench. It didn't look like much, just a piece of wood for plastic wheels, a few metal axles. But to a child, it was full of possibility. It wasn't just a toy, it was a race car waiting to be born. Many people still remember the excitement of opening that small box for the first time, holding the block of pine in their hands, imagining what it could become. Would it be sleek and fast? Would it look like a race car? Would it be the one that crossed the finish line first? The ideas seemed endless. Soon, garages became workshops. Fathers pulled out sandpaper. Children sketched designs on paper. Sawdust covered the floor. Someone carefully measured the shape. Someone else worried about making a mistake. Are you sure we should cut it there? What if we ruin it? It's okay, a father would often say. We'll figure it out. For many families, Pinewood Derby wasn't just an event. It became a tradition. Nights were spent sanding rough edges until they felt smooth. Paint colors were debated. Should it be red, blue, black with racing stripes? Tiny details suddenly felt important because race day mattered. Children dreamed about standing on the winner's podium. Parents secretly hoped their hard work would pay off. But even then, something much bigger was happening. Conversations filled the garage. Stories were shared. Jokes were told. Life slowed down. For a few evenings, parents weren't distracted by work. Children weren't distracted by screens. They focused on one thing, building something together. By the time race day arrived, excitement filled the air. School cafeterias, church halls, community centers, gymnasiums. Families gathered carrying handmade cars with pride. Children held them carefully as if they were priceless treasures. Some looked professional. Others looked like they had barely survived construction. But none of that mattered because every car had a story. Every scratch, every uneven paint job, every crooked wheel. It represented time spent together. Then someone would call everyone to the track. The room became quiet. Nervous smiles appeared. Children lined up beside the starting gate. Parents held cameras. Hearts raced. 3, 2, 1, go. Tiny wooden cars flew down the track. The crowd erupted. Cheers echoed through the room. Some children celebrated wildly. Others fought back tears after a disappointing finish. But somehow, almost everyone walked away smiling. Because Pinewood Derby was never really just about winning. It was about belonging. It was about creating memories. It was about believing that the little car you built with someone you loved could do something extraordinary. For decades, it seemed impossible to imagine these races disappearing. Then, little by little, everything began to change. At first, nobody noticed. After all, Pinewood Derby had been around for generations. Parents who had raced as children introduced it to their own kids. Traditions continued. The starting gates still opened. The trophies were still handed out. But the world outside those racetracks was changing. Families became busier. Work schedules became longer. Weekends filled with activities. Soccer practice, music lessons, school events. Free time became increasingly rare. The evenings one spent together in garages slowly disappeared. Then technology transformed childhood. Video games offered instant excitement. The internet provided endless entertainment. Smartphones placed entire worlds into children's hands. Compared to fast-paced digital experiences, sanding a block could seem old-fashioned. Building required patience. It required mistakes. It required effort. There were no shortcuts, no reset buttons, no instant rewards. You couldn't download success. You had to earn it. That simple truth became harder to appreciate in a world moving faster every year. Participation gradually declined in some communities. Fewer children signed up. Some races grew smaller. Volunteers struggled to keep traditions alive. For many adults, it was heartbreaking because they understood what younger generations were missing. Pinewood Derby taught lessons that extended far beyond racing. It taught problem solving, patience, creativity, perseverance. Children discovered that things didn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Cars broke, paint dripped, wheels didn't always align properly. Mistakes happened. Yet somehow, race day always arrived. And children learned that trying mattered more than perfection. More importantly, they learned that failure wasn't something to fear. Not every child won a trophy. Not every car crossed the finish line first. But they learned to congratulate others, to shake hands, to improve, to come back next year and try again. These weren't just racing lessons. They were life lessons. And perhaps that's why so many adults still remember Pinewood Derby decades later. Not because they remember who won, but because they remember who stood beside them while they built. Then came something unexpected. The children who once raced became parents themselves. And suddenly, memories they hadn't thought about in years returned. A smell, a photograph, an old trophy hidden in a closet, a dusty wooden car tucked away in a forgotten box. And instantly, they were children again. They remember the sound of sandpaper moving across wood, the excitement of choosing paint colors, the nervous energy before race day, the pride of carrying their creation into a crowded room. Most of all, they remembered the people, the father who stayed up late helping finish the car, the grandfather who shared advice, the mother cheering louder than anyone else, the siblings offering encouragement, the friends waiting at the finish line. Because maybe Pinewood Derby was never about tiny wooden cars racing down a track. Maybe it was about something much simpler. Time, undivided attention, being fully present with the people who mattered most. Today's children have access to incredible technology, entertainment previous generations couldn't even imagine. But sometimes, the things that require the most effort created the strongest memories. Perhaps that's why people still become emotional when they see an old Pinewood Derby car sitting on a shelf. They aren't remembering the race. They're remembering childhood. They're remembering garages filled with laughter. They're remembering the feeling that their parents could solve any problem. They're remembering a time when weekends felt endless and growing up seemed far away. Today, Pinewood Derby hasn't completely disappeared. Across America, dedicated volunteers continue organizing races. Parents still kneel beside their children, helping sand rough edges smooth. Starting gates still open. Crowds still cheer. And somewhere tonight, a child is placing the finishing touches on a small wooden car, while a parent says the same words that have been spoken for generations. I think this one's going to be fast. The golden age of Pinewood Derby may not look the way it once did, but its greatest legacy was never measured in trophies. It wasn't found in first-place finishes. It wasn't about who crossed the line ahead of everyone else. It was found in sawdust-covered garages, in tired parents making time after long days of work, in children learning that creating something with love matters more than creating something perfect. Because decades later, most people won't remember the fastest car. They won't remember the race results. But they'll remember the person standing beside them at the starting line. And perhaps that's the race that mattered most all along.